that little icon is annoying. I just have to move this over here. Alright. I'd even make my little face a bit smaller. Alright. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so basically in this stream, I've got this design that I'm working through essentially. So I've 3D modeled the house and the site model. So I've pre-made those based on some survey information. I'll just show you. So, you know, I have some survey information of the property. Also have some ground floor plans and first floor plans, and essentially I've taken that information and 3D modeled this house based on the architecturals and create a really basic site model as well. Now from here I've drawn a 2D concept plan, which is basically just line drawings at this point, you know, denoting garden beds, certain hardscaped paved areas, things like that. So pretty basic stuff, like it's just really line work drawings at this point. And from here what I'm going to do is take some of these hardscape elements, take these line drawings or these polylines and convert them into hardscape elements and sort of show a little bit of how I do that. So if you've sort of used Vectorworks before, you may have an idea, well I hope you have an idea of the resource manager. Recently they created hardscape elements as a resource, like hardscape styles, as a resource. I don't have any hardscape styles set up yet for the hardscapes that I'm going to be using, so I may just be using some default styles for now, and then sort of prettying them up as time goes on. But this is pretty similar to the process that I'd follow. So you can see all this is just line drawings. I've just sort of, you know, I started out with a sketch plan and then put that in here as polyline drawings. This design may change entirely throughout the process as well, and that's sort of the beauty of Vectorworks, is you can edit the design after you've done it in 3D. You don't need to show the 3D. Draw the 2D, then do the 3D, and then change the 2D and change the 3D. It's all sort of linked together. So hopefully I can give some examples of that as we go. But what I might do is I'll just start with this this is going to be a like a cobblestone, circular cobblestone fire pit seating area. Now what I'll do is I'll copy this, go to hardscape layer, paste in place. So you can Control C to copy, or you can Control C to copy and then Control V to paste, or Control Alt V to paste in place, which means it'll place exactly where it was copied from. On a Mac it's Option Command V. Option Command V. So what you do, simple as right click. So I'm on the hardscapes layer now. Create objects from shapes. Gonna create a hardscape object. I like to show the properties dialog. I normally delete the source shapes just so it's not a random shape sitting there. Now, this is where it's sort of new. They have all these hardscape styles now. Previously, you would use a slab style, but I won't bother getting into the details of that. And I've ran into a common problem I have with this. Whenever I rechange this, oh no, it's not doing it now. Sometimes when whenever I rechange it, this only happens when I'm streaming. I'm really not sure why, but whenever I reshape it, it does that. So we got flagstones instead of it. Granite cobblestones. Like I was just gonna use this one, this hardscape style. It'll try and import new hatches and stuff for certain components. If they're already in your file, you can just say do not import the hatch, use the existing hatch. So unless of course you want to change the hatch that's in there. Now all this is style based information, So if you can see this little arrow here, that means that it's style based. If you wanted to edit the style, go in and edit the style, you can change some of this. But this should have a lot of the information sort of already done. What I'll do too is, I'm going to take this concept plan and just move it a bit lower. I might even actually turn it off. Now, we've got a tag here, so it's Hardscape. This is like tag information. You can remove this under the tag settings here in the object info palette of the Hardscape. So I'm just going to have no tags for now. Now I am intrigued as to why. Yeah, so it's showing that underneath, which is where I'm getting a little bit of confusion here. If I turn the concept plan off, or I could even just grey it, you can see that there is a hatch here. This is showing a hatch. Now that's coming from the style. So where it's got style, you know, I've selected the Hardscape and you've got style up here. This will bring down a drop down, and you can replace it, which obviously, you know, you can replace that style with another one. Or you can convert it to unstyled, which basically just unlocks it. You can change all of its settings and it won't impact that, change that cobblestone style for anything else. Or you can edit the style, and this brings up options basically where you can start to change this style and make it something that you might prefer. So it says here granite cobblestone on sand setting bed. Now I might leave that construction methodology at the moment. Normally when we do these cobblestones, they actually go onto a concrete pad. So yeah, I might change that. I'll change that just to show. So I'll go on concrete pad. So that's just changing the name. Now, I really don't like this hatch. You know, this hatch doesn't look like the cobblestone hatch that I want it to use. Now, I can change this in here. So I can click on hatch and I can choose any hatch that's in the file. So any hatch that you have, you can apply it within that file. But I do know that you can have pavers radial. Now, this might be testing me a little bit here, but essentially I would like to have a radial. I'll sort of bring in a tab just quickly and show you, just for those of you who might be a little confused as to what this means. But I'm sort of hoping that it will be something like this, like a radial. Hopefully it doesn't look as weird as that, but essentially something like that, where it's a radial cobblestone pattern. Now I'm going to try and create that as a hatch. Course spacing, center stone diameter. Well, the center stone diameter would be 100, because I think that's what they come as. Next course joint offset 305. So that must be the next course joint offset. How offset? So if I'm looking at this, you can see how these go this way, and then the next one's offset by 50 mil, and the next one's, well, whoever laid these obviously didn't lay them very exact, but what is that offset joint going to be? I'd probably like it to just be 50 mil. Outside paver width, well, it's gonna be 100, isn't it? I'll see how this goes. I have zero idea how this is gonna look, so bear with me. Whoa. Okay. Well, I'm honestly learning along with you guys. It is a bit of a learn along with this. Radial pattern. Width. Outside paver. Oh, okay. So it's got that. It's only got two courses though. Oh, course spacing 12, 19. So I want the course spacing to be 100 mil, I think, because the cobbles are 100 mil, or geez, I don't know how many inches that is. Maybe like 4 inches, like 4 inches by 4 inches, or 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters. So I think if I change that core spacing to 100 millimeters, yeah, this is more what I want to see. Now you can see I've offset it by 50, but I don't really like that offsetting. See how the offsetting there? I don't know, it probably is fine. Like they're never gonna lay it exactly. But I might just play around with some of this. Radial. Paver width, next comment. I've got that. What if I just go shift by 50%? I'm assuming that means it moves it around 50%. I'm not going to get too hung up on it. I think I'll just leave that as it is. So it's important to know that this is just the 2D hatch. So all we're editing is the 2D hatch at this point, and the 3D is actually taking its information from... Hold up, sorry, excuse me. Bit of a mess going on here. Let's go turn that off. Sorry if you can hear my cat meowing in the background. He's going off. So we got this. So the reason that you're not seeing any render on this is because its mode, if you were to select the hardscape object, it just all looks white, or it could look like something much different to you. But it's all solid, it's all one solid color. If you go up here to render, into render mode, you now get the basically the render information. In this mode it says by object, we want it to be by component. And you'll see what I mean when I change it to this. You can see this is now by component, and what this is doing is it is reading the components of the hardscape. So if I go back into the style and we select edit style again, this is the same place we were when we edited the 2D pattern. If we now go to edit the 3D, draw 3D, or basically edit the 3D style, the 3D type is slab. Don't worry about slab drainage, that's a whole other video. And then we're just going to change the main area components, because this doesn't have a border. It's just hard, and it's exactly as it is. So we go main area components. You can see here we have 4 components. We've got the cobblestone, which is this. We've got the sand setting bed, which is that. We've got the compacted crushed stone, and then we've got the subgrade, or just the natural soil below. So this sort of gives you a chance to edit what the 3D will actually look like. So if you remember, we took this in as a cobblestone on sand setting bed, but then I said, oh well, actually we'd probably have it on a concrete pad, because normally, well, I guess it depends where you are. We're going to opt to have this concreted in. We're pouring other concrete slabs. We don't want it to settle over time, because with shifting and that, it can settle over time. So I'm actually going to change this from cobblestone and sand setting bed. I'm going to change this sand setting bed to mortar. It's going to be a mortar join, like essentially wet bedded mortar. This crushed stone will become concrete, and I might just leave that subgrade there. Now I'd say the concrete will be 100 mil. It's quite standard. The wet bedded mortar can sort of change. It can be sort of deep. I think if we go 20 mil, that's quite standard. These cobblestones being 100 mil are actually a fair bit thicker than the ones that we purchase. Our cobbles come in 40 mil thicknesses, and they just sort of sit on the mortar bed itself. So I've changed the names, but now I need to go in and actually edit what they are. So if I edit this, we're using material here. So there's a big list of materials in Vectorworks, and materials are basically, as I say, they're just a building material. And I'm going to look for mortar. So we got mortar, pretty straightforward. We go select. We don't want to import, we'll just keep it. It'll import all the information itself. And there you go, pretty straightforward. Now concrete, so the current material is crushed stone. We want to change that to concrete, and it probably, no, it won't be a concrete, screwed. I'm just going to type in concrete here. Precast, no, it'll be a cast in place. Cast in situ reinforced. That will be what it is. I think that'll do. Now it doesn't have to be too exact. I'm not, you know, this is just showing the capabilities of it, not the full. You know, all these materials have deep material information. You can apply costings and things like that. But just as a simple way to sort of show it, you can see how that's now updated. We've got the cobbles, the mortar, the concrete, and then the subgrade. So that now is all that information is kept within this granite cobblestone on concrete pad style. And then if we go back to our, actually one thing I will do, can you see how this is not a solid? You know, if I turn on this, you can see how the hatch from the concept, you know, this, if I turn that layer off, you can see that that hatch is showing through. So I'm actually going to go back here and edit this style. I wonder if I can I keep all that paving count? Doesn't look like I can give it a, I know if I just come here and go solid and the white background, I might actually give it a grey. I think that sort of suits a bit more. So that's got that pretty well managed there. So I'm pretty happy with that now. So that's our radial cobble. What we could really do, because we don't actually have, let me just go here. We don't actually have a radial hatch, and I'm not really going to be too fussy about that. I'll just leave it as is. But what we do need to do is send it to the site model, or figure out where it's going to sit on the site model. Now, I know from looking at the survey information, it'll be about 31,100, I believe. That'll be the elevation. So if you go into, you select the hardscape object and go into elevation, then there's a bit here where you can put in the elevation, and that's going to be relative to the survey data that you've got. I'm hoping that makes sense. Whoops, didn't put that in correctly. That's looking better. It's close, it's not quite. See if I can just plus 50. Just about there. So that'll probably be the elevation that I leave that pad at. And you know, we will modify the site. Actually, I might show you that now. So I'm going to go to my site model layer. So I've selected the site model. This is sort of more site modeling than hardscape objects, but if you look at this site model and we go site model settings, you see selected here, use site modifiers on. We can select the layers. So we want to use the site modifiers that are on the hardscapes layer, which is the layer that our hardscapes are on. And we want to do that because if I now change the site, if I'm in this site modifier tab of the hardscape objects, I go site modifiers, modifier at the top, and I select that, and then I go back to my site model layer, which is my digital terrain model or DTM layer. I then update. You can see how that has actually pulled the site. Oh, geez, what am I doing here? Excuse me. It's actually pulled the site model to that hardscape. So the hardscape itself has edited the terrain so that it's sort of scratched off that bit of site model that was originally over it. And that's basically how the site will look. So that's worked out quite nicely. Now what I might do is go to my concept plan again. Now I've got a few things going on here. I was going to have a mini one of these in here, so like the circular cobbles, have the cobbles in there. I think you could do that really easy by just dragging. I'm holding control on Windows or Option on Mac, and I'm just going to drag a direct copy. Oh, whoops, I'm on the wrong layer, sorry. Gonna go to my, gonna turn that layer on, gonna go to my hardscapes layer, gonna hold control, I'm gonna drag out the copy now of the hardscape, grab it, and oh, it's going to try and be difficult here. There's the center spot, move it there. Now, I swear there's going to be a way. There's bound to be a way that I can make this smaller. An easy way to do it is if I just go to the concept, I'll turn the hardscape off. So this is just on the 2D drawing. You can see I've got this here now. Now, sorry, actually this shape, if I copy this outer shape, so there's a hole with this in the middle of it, I copy this outer shape and go back to hardscapes. I then paste it in place, so I paste it on top of my hardscape, and then I hold shift and select both. So I've got the shape, I've got the hardscape underneath, I've held shift and selected both, and then if you Control Alt C to cut, or Option Command C are the shortcuts, or you can right click and go clip surface, then I'm left with this shape on the outside, which I can now delete, and now I've got my hardscape on the inside, which should, well, it's there, but it's hiding under the site model a bit. I'm wondering if I bring that up, because I think what's going to happen is this hardscape that I've got over here, like this whole pad will be at a height that may sit a little bit higher than this, and this turf will just grade between. So this is 31150. This one here, you know, what are we dealing with here? We don't have much of a slope here. I wouldn't want it to be much higher. Maybe 50 mil you wouldn't notice. Don't want it to be too high. I don't think that's too bad. I think you can sort of scratch that down. So that's 31200. I'm just going to quickly check. I don't. So this is 90 mil lower than my ground floor residence. 32120. Excuse me while I write this down. 32120. So that's the elevation. 32120 is my layer elevation for this floor. So the finished floor level in the house is 31120. You then take a 90 mil step down off there, which leaves me with 32030. Sorry, it's probably really painful for you to listen to. 30. Yeah, and then my hardscapes layer, I've got 31200. 200, which is good because the difference between that and this layer here will be well, it'd be a little bit less than 800 at the moment. It'd be what, 770, but then we'll also have a 40 mil paver and some glue on it, so it'll be about 810. But that's fine because we won't need a handrail under building codes. We won't need to worry about a handrail along here, which is a pretty key part of the design, was making sure we didn't need a handrail. So long story short, I'm happy with 31200 there, and I'm also going to change this to modified top, which it already was, and then I'll just go back to my site model and update, turn my hardscapes back on, and there you go. If you can see these little red lines coming around the they're just the site modifiers. This song's a bit loud, I might turn it down a bit. I gotta turn it down in my earphones. Maybe it's not too loud for you guys, it's too loud for my earphones. If you just go into classes, site, DTM here, and then modifier, if you turn that class off, it'll get rid of those red lines for you. So yeah, just be aware of that. I'll leave them on now because I'm working with them, but when it comes to publish, it can be annoying seeing them a lot. Now, next thing we're going to work on is concept plan. I'm going to take these here, and you know what, I might start bulking some of this out. So I'm going to take all of these. This is going to be a herringbone bluestone paver. So I'm just going to snag all of that, copy, And I'm going to paste it onto the hardscapes layer. Just realized that I'm actually... Why is that? Oh, I must have moved... Oh, because I've moved the concept under the house. That's alright, I'll leave it down there for now. It's minor, don't worry about it. Okay. So I go back to hardscapes. I'm going to paste in place. So I've just pasted in place my herringbones. I'm going to right click and I can just bulk create objects from shapes here. So I can go hardscapes, okay. Once again we can choose a style. Sort of hoping for a block pavers collection. I was sort of hoping for a sort of herringbone. What's this? Oh, it looks like a herringbone. Might not be the exact style, but I can at least take that as a start. This is Cambridge pavers. No. We got some decking, stone. Oh, these hardscape objects. Herringbone paving with brick border. Well, I could go a herringbone paver. I'm not actually going to go a border. And I'll sort of show you later on if you watch later. I might not even get to it tonight, but block paving, herringbone, 200 by 100. I sort of don't mind that. I might just bring that in and see what it looks like. Just gonna say okay, just to get it in here. Once again, I'm gonna turn the tags off. I'm gonna turn this concept layer off so it's a bit easier to see. I'm gonna go 3D. Remember, you need to go to render, and where it says mode by object, we want it to be by component. That looks terrible. That looks absolutely horrendous. What the hell is that? This is not what I've signed up for. If I click on this style now and I go replace, then it just brings up a simple drop down again, and I can choose to replace it. That is completely terrible looking. That is so bad. I probably shouldn't say that, someone's probably got a house with that, but yeah. Looks terrible. Okay. Keep in mind too, like I'm just sort of selecting these now, you can always just start out with something, like I might select this. You can start out with something and then just edit the components, you know, edit the materials, make new material styles and change the way everything looks after the fact. So don't be afraid of doing that. This is very peculiar. This actually has no slab style. Very peculiar. Might actually just go in here. I'm going to convert this to unstyled. So what this means is that all of its information is up for grabs. You know, you can change any part of this entire thing or all of these together and nothing will be saved as a style. So I'm going to change all of its information now and do that basically as a way to make a new style. So this is going to be herringbone bluestone paving. That's going to be the name of these hardscapes. There's going to be no border. It's going to be a slab. Let's go into the components. So I'm going to actually delete that. This is just going to be concrete once again. So I can go into this file and find my concrete cast in place reinforced. Sweet, that's good enough. Gonna make it 100 mil again. Maybe a little bit thick, but that's fine. And then we go concrete as the name. Go OK. Now where we've got slab, we need to make a new material. So what I'll do is I'll cancel this. I'll just go OK for now. Bring up the resource manager and I'm going to go to, not record formats, going to go to materials and I'm going to make a new material. I'm going to call this herringbone bluestone paving. Fill, we'll make it a hatch. This instant 30, this 45-degree one I like for it. Now the texture, I did download a few that I was going to trial out. I might try this one here. I can always edit the texture after the fact. Now you can give it a lot of info, like basically limitless potential around what info you can put in here. But I just leave it as that for now. So basically I've made a new material. It's my herringbone texture. What I will do is go to my Renderworks textures and bring up my herringbone one, and I'm going to edit. And then if I want to edit the surface hatch. Now this, computer's having a think. I don't want to sort of overwhelm you if you've never seen this, but basically what this means is that if you go into a line drawing style for this, you know, try and make a line drawing of the, I'm going to rotate it 45. You try to make a line drawing of the texture. This is sort of the hatch that comes up. That probably makes no sense. I'm just going to do it now. Hopefully, if you know what it means, that's good. If you don't, then maybe do some research into surface hatches and applying those to the textures. So I'm just going to go OK. 15 minutes has passed. I'm actually going to save my file because I would hate for it to crash. Oh, I've already saved. That's good. So then if I go to materials, herringbone bluestone, and I edit this, so it's got this now. You can see how now, I don't know if you noticed this, I probably should have made it more obvious, but see how there's now this side to the cube. So see how with this it's got two, you know, solid colors, and I'm assuming that's nothing. That third side of the cube is the surface hatch. So I believe that's the hatch, that's the Renderworks texture that's applied to the 3D, and that's the surface hatch that's applied to it. Anyway, that was a bit of a detour. I'm now going to go back in and edit these main area components. Where it's got slab, I'm going to call it herringbone bluestone paving. Sweet. Then I'm going to go edit, and I'm going to change the material to the material we just made, herringbone bluestone paving. Go OK. Go. Make sure you go revert to material texture. That can sometimes throw you off. Throws me off anyway. Now go OK. Okay, so we've got it on some, but not others. What's wrong with you? Well, that is peculiar. If this were, well, there you go, ghost in the machine. Now, I actually don't mind how this is laid out. This is sort of looking okay. These elevations, the elevations for these I haven't worked out yet, and I might do that off stream just because, you know, I want to get this right, and I think there is going to be a little bit of slope here, potentially even up to the driveway. So I'm just gonna, like you can see that there may be some level changes here. You know, this house hasn't even been built yet. It's still in the architectural phase. So if I told them to level this off, they probably would. But I'd like to try and work a little bit with the levels. And also I'll need to figure out some stairs that are going on here. There's a few bits and pieces. So I'm not going to get too bogged down in that during the stream. It's already been, what, 30 minutes. You can see this hatch is absolutely terrible though. Need to edit this hatch. Where is my... What we will do is we will take this here, and this is where you can go new plugin style from unstyled plugin. So we've changed all this information. Remember, we unstyled this and made it its own thing. I might actually bring it up to its elevation. I think it was 31200. Yeah. So this Hardscape now. If I go new plugin style, we're going to make this a style. Make sure you put it in the Hardscape styles folder, and we're going to call it Herringbone Bluestone Paving. Now, hatch, we do not want this hatch. This hatch is terrible. We'll be using our standard ashlar one. That's fine. You can leave that. You can actually see how there's this arrow. This arrow means that it's by style, which means that if you apply this style to other hardscapes, you will not be able to edit whatever is a part of this arrow unless you change it for all of the style, so everything has to change. This joint angle is talking about, you know, what rotation do you want your hatch to be? You know, do you want your decking boards to be running this way, or do you want the hatch to rotate and they run this way? That's joint angle. I actually find a lot of the time you do want that to change depending on the hardscape itself, so you can unclick that and you get these two sliders, and that means that it can be changed by each instance. This stuff shouldn't really change. That stuff shouldn't really change. Tag, like, yeah, I think tag should be an unstyled thing. That all pretty much stays the same. That can all change, and yeah, that's good. So we'll go okay. So now we've made a style. See, now we go here. We can even edit the style. Oops, still called hardscape style, my bad. Herringbone Bluestone Paving. Go okay. Now, if I go over here, you can see these are unstyled. I'm just going to select these. And then if I change this to replace, and we're going to make this style our newly created herringbone paving. Oh, what is this? What do we have here? Let's just have a quick look. Very peculiar. Well, that is very interesting. Huh. It appears that it won't change its name. We've got hardscape style here. If I go view as, set thumbnail view as top plan, these are all, that is really shaded. This is very peculiar. If I just replace this one with my hardscape style. Very odd. What if I rename this now? I call this Herringbone Bluestone Paving. The name you've selected is already in use. Please use a different name. On concrete. Okay. Set thumbnail render shaded. Still doesn't show. See, this still shows as wireframe, whereas this is a shaded view. So if I go to this, it's gonna make this wider and make sure it's not tripping it out at all. doesn't want to do it. It just doesn't want to do it. It's crazy. Okay, now it's doing it. I can live with that. It's looking a bit better. That was very peculiar. Just gonna take all these shapes now. I should be able to replace these with our herringbone. Alright, cool. So now they're all styled. So now any changes that we make to one will be applied to all of them. And they're looking okay there. Don't know. It's doing some funkiness. I'm not sure I'm liking the funkiness that it's giving me in line view. That's alright. I can live with that. Now guys, I might just call it there for the stream. Hopefully you found some of that useful. I might put up a specific tutorial video in the future that sort of outlines this a bit more. But otherwise, thanks for joining, and yeah, best of luck with your designs.